as our captain, that we can win this war. It is in studying his battle plan that we can discover how to carry out our own. It is in conforming our hearts and transforming our minds to his that we will gain the strategic insights we need to live out the victory he has already secured for us. See, this battle is unlike any other. This battle has already been decided. The outcome has already been secured. Jesus Christ gained the victory through his death, burial, and resurrection. But in order for us to experience the manifestation of that victory in our own lives, we need to learn how to maneuver through the mines left behind from an enemy still bent on making our lives miserable along the way. It's true that many Christians don't even know they're at war. Others, however, can see clearly the results of the battle in their lives because they have become casualties of spiritual warfare. Some suffer emotional wounds from spiritual warfare. They are discouraged, depressed, downtrodden, and defeated. Others have taken fatal blows to their marriage or family. Divorce, conflict, and abuse are some of the battle scars they bear. But others have been morally wounded in the battle. They cannot control their passions and make poor moral choices. For some Christians, the wounds have been inflicted on their finances. They are losing the financial battle because they are losing the spiritual one. I could list more casualties, but I assume you get the idea. Since we all are at war, and since there is so much at stake both here in history and in eternity, we had better learn what spiritual warfare is about and how we can fight successfully. The nature of the battle. The essence of the war we are talking about is spiritual, because this warfare is first and foremost spiritual and not physical. The degree to which you and I will be successful is the degree to which we are prepared to understand and fight this battle on a spiritual level. While waged in the invisible spiritual realm, spiritual warfare is manifested in the visible physical realm. In other words, spiritual warfare is a battle between invisible angelic forces that affects you and me. You and I can't see the cause of the war, but we see the effects. The kinds of problems I mentioned previously, all the time, day in and day out. It's hard enough to fight an enemy you can see. It's much harder to fight someone you can't see. Everything you do in the visible physical realm is caused, provoked, or at least influenced by something in the invisible spiritual realm. Your five senses are not the limit of reality, and until we address the spiritual root of a problem, we will never fix the physical effects of that problem. Not only are your physical senses limited, but they often provide little help in spiritual warfare. This means that if you are going to wage successful spiritual battle, you need a sixth sense, a keen awareness of the spiritual realm. In order to understand spiritual warfare, we have to address it through the lens of the Spirit, with the help of the Holy Spirit. The location of the battle. Where in the universe is this great battle called spiritual warfare being fought? Paul tells us it is in the heavenly places, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, which means the spiritual realm. In the Bible, the word heaven describes three levels of existence. See 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. The first heaven is the atmosphere that surrounds the earth, the environment in which we live. The second heaven is what we commonly refer to as outer space, the stellar heavens where the stars and planets exist. This is also a realm in which angels operate because in the Bible, angels are called stars. Job chapter 38, verse 7. When you see the stars at night, they should remind you of spiritual beings called angels and the reality of the warfare we are engaged in. The third heaven is the throne room of God, the place we normally think of when we hear the word heaven. It is about this heaven that the Bible has the most to say. In fact, the third heaven is an incredibly busy place because it is the control center of the universe. In the book of Ephesians alone, we find numerous references to heavenly places in addition to that in chapter 6, verse 12.